Here's two guys that once dropped water balloons from the top of Mount Everest, Aaron and Jonathan.
Howdy, and welcome to episode 36 of In the Rabbit Holes Urban Survival Podcast. In this episode, we become community activists for disaster preparedness. We're your hosts, Aaron
and Jonathan.
You are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. So we're joined today by Marni, Rosen, and Ben Gillis from CERT, and they're going to tell us everything you ever wanted to know about CERT. Marni, Ben, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Aaron.
So, Marni, let's start with you. What is your involvement with CERT?
I'm the City of Houston CERT coordinator, and I've been involved with the CERT program pretty much since it started in Harris County. It started in 2002, and I've been either working for a partner organization involved with CERT, or as of 2007, was hired by the City of Houston to be the City of Houston CERT coordinator.
Ben, how about you?
I'm a community volunteer. I retired from commercial real estate about 5 or 6 years ago, heard about the CERT program, took the course, fell in love with it and what it could do for our community. And I have worked with it ever since then. Became certified to teach certain parts of the CERT courses and volunteer to help again whenever I can, Aaron.
Well, that's fantastic. Community is a really big part of our show, and I think as far as disaster preparedness or dealing with any kind of emergency, these are things you can't really do well on your own. And if you've got a community, and I think the more community involvement, the better in these kinds of things. So maybe we could start off by tell us, what is CERT for people that know absolutely nothing about it?
Well, I'll start. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team, and CERT is a free disaster preparedness training that teaches people how to be more aware and better prepared for disasters, natural disasters most.
And if I could add to that, if you add up all the first responders meaning fire, police, emergency, medical people, that probably represents 1% of our population. Well, that means there's another 99% out there that may need help at some point. And so what we do with the CERT program is train the people in the community to take care of themselves, take care of their family, take care of their neighbors in an emergency. We're not a replacement for the first responders. We're just, again, to take care of things until the first responder can get there.
Okay, that's fantastic. So why was CERT formed? And I guess when also was CERT formed?
CERT really started as a concept in Los Angeles when the Los Angeles Fire Department saw the need to train its citizens, especially in light of all the earthquakes that they have in that part of the country, because people will inevitably want to step up and help others. So they saw the need to train people on just how to do that without putting themselves in harm's way. So CERT is really designed to bridge the gap, like Ben said, between when an emergency strikes and when professional responders are able to get on scene.
Okay, and if I'm correct, CERT was originally, at least the first iteration of CERT, kind of started in California. Is that correct?
That's right, in the mid-'80s. And then FEMA picked it up in 1993 and formalized the program. And today CERT is available nationwide.
And Marni, outside of being a concerned citizen or a good citizen, what are are there any prerequisites before you take a CERT class?
No, actually, CERT assumes that people have no prior experience. And it is taught by professional first responders, but geared towards the everyday person.
One of the main prerequisites for taking CERT is to learn how to take care of yourself and your neighbor and your family.
in the CERT class, people are a little bit apprehensive, like, oh my goodness, what am I getting myself into? And so I ask, well, how many people would like to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem in a disaster? And everybody raises their hand. And I said, well, y'all just pass.
Well, I know going into it when we took it, that was one of our major concerns. It was the whole idea of, in an emergency, what's my role? What's the role of my neighbors? And then, what is the role of the first responders? And I felt that CERT did a great job of really defining out where those areas were without giving me some confidence above and beyond where I should have been to walk away thinking, oh, look at that, I could do everything a first responder did. If anything, I felt that it really did the reverse of saying, look, here's where your role is, and let the professional first responders do what they do best. And when they get there, be helpful, but don't get in the way. And I felt that's really what CERT was able to do for us. Would you agree that that tends to be what the goal is?
Absolutely. To be the first responder, but not the professional first responder.
Right.
And again, bridge the gap until the professional responders can arrive.
So how long and how much of a time commitment is CERT?
Well, a typical CERT program is going to be about 24 hours. That's 8 3-hour sessions. During those first 7 sessions, we have some course study, and I can give you sort of a rundown on what those sessions would be. But then that last session, the 8th session, is a drill. And it's very real feeling drill where you put in practice what you learned during those first 7 sessions. We start at the beginning with, just what is disaster preparedness. We go into fire safety, we go into disaster medical operations, we go into light search and rescue, we go into the organization of the CERT structure, and then we get into disaster psychology. We're not trying to make you a first responder. Again, we're trying to give you sort of as we used to call in college, the survey course of a little bit of knowledge about a lot of subjects during that 24-hour period.
Yeah, Ben, I think that's a great way to frame it, because going to that practical simulation at the end, I thought that was fantastic. You get all the concepts of a emergency response without any of the real pressure, and it allows you to put into practice a lot of what you learned. To the point about giving you the information you need and not overloading and becoming more of the term I always like is Swiss Army knife, or, you're not going to be the best chisel in the world, but you could be a decent Swiss Army knife. And what I found about that was, if you're looking for this to be the ultimate in Red Cross medical, you're not going to get that. Go to the Red Cross for that. And I know we've gotten a lot of our listeners coming in going, well, am I going to learn CPR? Am I going to learn this, that, and the other technique? And could you go into a little bit about what the CERT philosophy on that is?
The CERT program assumes a large-scale disaster situation, and not to downplay the importance of CPR training, but CPR is not taught as part of CERT because the philosophy is, in a large-scale situation, the goal is to do the most good for the most amount of people, triage the situation, and determine who is hurt the most and who needs the most immediate attention. So CPR is not taught as part of the CERT curriculum.
And Marni, that's one of the things that I know we took away from it, doing the most good for the most amount of people, which is one of the reasons we actually started doing the show. It was that whole idea of trying to get as much information to the most amount of people as we could. And actually, that may become the title of the show. I think that's CERT doing the most good for the most amount of people is probably the best way to put it.
And I thought one of the things that was an interesting distinction between the two was Red Cross assumes that first responders are immediately on their way, whereas CERT is very different. It's you're trying to stabilize as many people as you can in an instance where it may be quite a while before first responders arrive.
That's right.
So now, if a disaster takes place and a CERT member is sitting at home and things happen, middle of the night, middle of the day, whenever, how does a CERT member become activated? Who do they answer to? Who do they interact with?
The CERT teams are designed to be self-activated, and the first thing a CERT team member would do is make sure that they are safe and their family is safe and their home is secure, because they won't be effective stepping out into the community in an effort to help others if their situation is not stable.
So in a situation like that, would they at some point get a call if they're on that list of people, or how would they interact with first responders, and how would they augment first responders?
In general, like I said, CERT teams are designed to be self-activated. So how would they know when it's time to go, basically? If a disaster were to strike their neighborhood, hopefully there are other CERT-trained individuals that they know about and have been meeting with to make those plans on what they would do in the event of an emergency. When professional responders arrive on scene, they're in charge. So how CERTs might fit in, they follow what we call the incident command system and would be utilized by the professional responders at their discretion. Our goal really is to not only educate the community, but also educate our first responders as to how CERTs can be available and what they're able to do.
Let me
So
just
it's
add
kind
in
of a
there,
two-way
we
education.
discourage CERT responders to act as an individual. We hope that in a community that they've banded together, created a team, so that if an emergency does occur, they notify the members of the team in various ways, and they assemble and then they respond as a group. Because again, one of the things is to watch out for each other, and then they do the best they can with the situation until that first responder arrives. And then once that first responder arrives, they turn over all their notes, what they've done, what they've been planning to that first responder, and they take it from there.
And then I might add to, in non-disaster times, to continue building a relationship between CERT and professional responders. We encourage our CERTs to volunteer to support either the Houston Fire Department, if we're talking about Houston, or the Houston Police Department, and help them with their drills. So, for example, there was a recent HPD, HFD disaster drill, and CERTs were called upon to come and role play as victims for the professional first responder drills. So I think in that way there's a rapport built between the CERT team members and the first responders.
Okay, so I think for people that may be concerned about, I think you've already covered one aspect of it, take care of yourself, your family, and your community first. But what are the legal aspects? I know there's the Good Samaritan laws out there, but what kind of legal aspects affect how a CERT member reacts in a disaster and what they're able to do in a disaster?
I would say that volunteers are protected under the Good Samaritan Act if they respond within the level of their training. And we continuously remind the participants in CERT to do that for the good, for their own protection and for the safety of possible victims.
And what would you say CERT is, I think, probably as important as what does CERT teach? What is CERT not intended to be?
Well, I think, as Ben said, it is not intended to replace the job of a professional first responder, but to be that initial response, like you said, is to help stabilize the situation until professional responders arrive. So it's not intended to teach anything more than a basic awareness level class where CERTs might bridge the gap until professional responders arrive.
So, Marni, as a volunteer organization, and you know the way I look at CERT, when you've got 8 classes, 3 hours, and if I remember right, it was 8 weeks in a row. I think we had 1 week where we didn't have a class when we did it. if somebody misses a class, they don't get fired immediately, right?
Absolutely not. And like I said earlier, people are a little bit apprehensive at first. What is this all about? And
Right.
what are the expectations going to be of me in a disaster? And I always try to allay people's fears that this is totally voluntary, and how far you want to go with it after the CERT training is over is up to you.
Marni,
So-
could I add that if someone misses a class, and again, there's many, many reasons why that would happen, we make them aware of other CERT classes in the area so they can replace that class with another group. We encourage, in fact, we encourage the person, the trainee, it's really important for you to get that piece of knowledge if you really want to fully understand and appreciate and be able to work with the CERT program.
And I will say to our listeners that having taken all the classes, each one really did offer. The speakers that came in were all fantastic, and the knowledge they helped provide, it was always excellent and very useful. So a lot of our listeners are going to get to this point in the show and think, "Okay, all this sounds great, but what do I do next? How do I sign up for CERT?"
Well, signing up is simple. We have our CERT calendar, CERT training calendar, on the Harris County Citizen Corps website. And the Harris County Citizen Corps is the overarching volunteer program over CERT. And the website is www.harriscountyczitizencorps.com. And to find the current CERT schedule, just click on CERT. To sign up for a class, you simply contact the point of contact listed, and hopefully you'll be able to find a CERT training that is convenient and located close to you.
And Marni, I know that your focus is on the Harris County, Houston area, but for our listeners that are outside that area, what would be the best? Are there resources for them to go to that you can think of right now that would allow them to find CERT in their areas as well?
Yes, I would advise them to go to the National Citizen Corps website, and it lists all of the CERT programs in every state.
So, Marni, we've gotten a question before because we've brought up CERT many times. We always speak quite positively of it. But a lot of our listeners, or a few of our listeners, have come back to us and said that CERT wasn't in their area. Is there a way that you know of to go through that the Citizen Corps and try to start a local CERT, or is that something that really needs to happen through local government and you just need to petition your county?
I believe so, and for direction and guidance, I would advise people to contact maybe the state CERT program.
Okay.
If they have a state office.
So going back a little bit to, I know there's no prerequisites and CERT is designed to teach anybody, but are there any special skills that CERT is looking for, like ham operators, things like that?
CERT as an organization encourages people, once they take CERT training, to go on and take supplemental training. So by becoming a volunteer on the Harris County Citizen Corps website, there is a place where volunteers can log their special skills or resources that they could offer in the event of an emergency. But certainly being a ham radio operator would be helpful, and both the Houston and Harris County EOCs, Emergency Operations Centers, call upon ham radio volunteers as well as CERT volunteers, and many times those volunteers are cross-trained.
You know, CERT, if you are a willing person, you want to help people, then CERT has a place for you. You can take the CERT program from, if you don't want to do anything with it other than something for you personally or your family, and that works, that's fine. Or you can take it as far as you want to help your neighbors in your community. CERT is such a flexible program, and when you finish that training, again, it's going to help you become not part of the problem, but part of the cure. You know, you'll have the training that'll keep you safe and your family safe. It's such a flexible program. It's unbelievable.
And Ben, I love where you're coming from on this because, again, Aaron said it earlier, but we are so focused on community and really becoming what we call a good community citizen. Can you tell us a little bit about how, what got you into it? Where were you coming from when you decided to take the CERT course for the first time and then take that next step of volunteering?
That's an interesting question because a friend told me about the CERT program right after I'd retired from, again, commercial real estate. And it sounded interesting, and I was looking for something to do to fill my time. So I took this 24-hour course and, like I said, fell in love with it. It was something that was great for my family and something I could really turn around and use in my community. And I enjoy giving something back to the community. I've been an employee for many years, and it's fun to be able to give back. But I took that course. I think once you take the course, you'll fall in love with it, and then you want to carry it to the next step. And then that next step, as Marni has been describing, can be anything from helping the police department on special projects they have, working with the County Emergency Operations Center on drills or other situations they may have. The list goes on and on. But you've got those basic skills that you can take anywhere.
Yeah, I think I even got a notice one time and actually went and took it. It was a how to use a chainsaw properly course that was offered in conjunction with CERT, and it was really amazing. I never knew there was so much to know about a chainsaw, but it was great. And then they brought in guys from the National Forestry Service to actually teach us how to properly fell a tree, how to chop it up, and how to remove it from roads and all that. And it was really quite amazing.
I'd also agree. I think once you get that bug and you take the course and hear about what the different roles are, and really what I found interesting is the roles of first responders even in an emergency, and even hearing for the first time that the first responders are going to do their best to be everywhere, but they just can't be. There just aren't that many of them. And as soon as you hear all of that and get a really good understanding of what the role of the professional first responder is, it gives you much more of a understanding of where the community can play a role.
One more thing, that course also gave me a different appreciation for those first responders.
Oh, most definitely.
For how they train, how much training they have, and how they use that training. It's you think you understand the fire department and the police department and the medical group, but you really don't till you start doing some of the, working with some of the programs in the CERT program.
I've seen how folks, once they have gone through the CERT training, have been so inspired that they have gone on and joined their local volunteer fire department.
Yes.
So I really think it is the spark or the springboard for people to further their learning and their training and their involvement in the community.
Going back to the kind of information that's covered, is it regionally focused or is it broader than that? Does it kind of cover a little bit of everything?
It covers a lot in the 8 weeks. The curriculum is set from the national level, and it's tailored to different regions and different communities and different jurisdictions.
Okay, and what is a CERT rodeo?
I'll answer that because I have the honor of being the co-chair of the 6th annual Harris County Citizen Corps CERT Rodeo. I'm co-chairing it with Liz Schuler. And what that is an annual training event for CERTs, where CERTs from all over Houston, Harris County, and even statewide come together for a day of practicing the skills that are taught in CERT and other team building activities as well. And what's really special about that day is a day of fun and practice and camaraderie, but also the opportunity to be evaluated and critiqued by professional first responders. So again, it's beneficial both ways in that the CERTs are getting an opportunity to practice and receive feedback from our responders, and then the professional responders are gaining an understanding of what is taught in CERT and what skills people come away with after going through CERT.
Well, and I'd like to just give a quick example of what I saw recently as a great use of CERT. And so a lot of people, doesn't matter where you are listening to the show, you've heard of the wildfires here in Texas. And when I was recently doing one of my many, many travels back and forth lately between Houston and Austin, I actually did get to see, or I came up on the fires in Bastrop. And the professional first responders did a great job of moving us from one highway to another so that we could go around the fires. But then it was really the CERT teams. There were local CERT teams here in the area that had on their CERT vests, and they were ready to go, and they were helping just direct traffic. They weren't there to do disaster management or triage or any of those other things that I know a lot of our listeners are interested in learning about. They were there to help the community. And that was to prevent traffic from piling up in areas that it shouldn't be. They were helping guide people to where they needed to be. When cars pulled over, trying to figure out where to go next. The CERT team members were really there to help tell them where they needed to be and where to go. And that was one of the biggest, it was probably the largest CERT team I've ever seen respond to anything personally. There had to be at least 100 to 150 people there. And I think it was CERT members from all over the state. So I don't think it was just the Austin, Travis County area, but it was fantastic to see, and that really was community work at its finest.
Yes,
That's
very
awesome.
much so. I'd like to add again, just as a reminder, remember CERT can be as much or as little as you want it to be. And if you really want to take the program and run with it, there's a lot of training sessions afterwards, everything from traffic control to additional first aid courses. The list goes on and on. But if you just want it to take care of your family, it's there for you. It's a great program. I don't care what your physical capabilities are. If you're in a wheelchair, if you're on crutches, if you have a cane, no matter what, there's always something you can do in the CERT program. So it's available for everyone, and we encourage everyone possible to sign up for it and go through those 24 hours. I think you'll find it very worthwhile.
Well, that's fantastic. Ben, Marni, I really want to thank you guys for taking the time and coming on today and hopefully educating some listeners that were already interested in CERT and bringing it to light for listeners that didn't even know CERT existed.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about CERT.
Thank you very much.
When it comes to survival, whether we're talking about disaster preparedness or in any kind of situation, our best hope is for community. That's why Survival Chi starts with C, kind of like CERT. Both are about community. If CERT's not in your area, petition your local government, petition your state government. Do what you got to do, but get them in your area. It is one of the best things you can do to help yourself, your family, and your community survive a disaster. Bit of housekeeping before we wrap up the show today. We've been getting all kinds of wonderful emails of praise and ideas and all kinds of things to do with the show. We want you to keep them coming, but one in particular we'd like to talk about today is a listener question show. If you'd like to see a listener question show, go onto our Facebook page, and we've got a poll running. If you'd like to see it, hit yes. There's also a no option and a I don't really care option. So choose one that suits you. And if we get enough in the future, we'll start doing a listener question show where you get to call in and ask your question. And with that, we wrap up episode 36. Thank you for joining us. Help support In the Rabbit Hole Urban Survival Podcast and blog. We're now accepting applications for show sponsors. For more information, please use the contact form on the site and choose option Advertise. If you like the podcast, make sure to leave us a review in iTunes. It helps others find us. If you didn't, well, why not tell us about it using the contact form on the site? Seriously, the show is for you, the listener. Be sure to connect with us through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the Urban Survival Forum through the links on the top right-hand side of the site at www.intherabbithole.com and on the forum, forum.intherabbithole.com. Also, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. By connecting with us, you receive updates about the site and notifications of new articles and podcast episodes. That's right, we're not just a podcast. Every week, articles are posted to the site in therabbithole.com that cover all manner of topics relating to surviving in an urban environment, whether in good times or in extreme circumstances. Show notes are posted with each episode where we invite you to comment on the show and interact with us. From Houston, Texas. Till next time, stay safe and sound.